What's up, students? It's PGT Sensei here. I've got another grain video for y'all today. We're going to be going over wild bird seeds. You can easily find wild bird seeds at any one of your big chain retailers. I got a 35-pound bag of bird seeds from my local Tractor Supply for about 12 bucks. The mix I'm using today contains milo, white millet, cracked corn, wheat, and black oil sunflower seeds. The primary ingredients you want for your bird seed mix is the milo and millet. Now on to why I love wild bird seeds and why it's my favorite grain to use. Number one, it's very cheap and it's easy to find anywhere. Number two, it's very easy to break apart when shaking your grain jars, and it's also very easy to spawn out to bulk substrates when the time comes. And number three, it's great for master grain jars. In order to do grain-to-grain transfers, the tiny little seeds allow you to make hundreds of inoculation points in your new grain jars, and that's going to allow you to get some pretty fast colonizations compared to some other grains. There's going to be two methods for preparing the wild bird seeds. You can do the overnight soak method or the boil method. For the boil method, you just follow the same procedures as listed out in my Old Tech video, where you boil the grains for 30 minutes, you drain it, you dry it, and you jar it. You get some burst grains, but that's okay. It'll still work. So if you're crunched for time and you don't want to spend time overnight soaking your grains, you can always just boil them for 30 minutes and they're good to go, just like how it is in my Old Tech video. Now the method I'm going to show you today is the overnight soak method. And no matter what method you decide to use, the main point is we're trying to hydrate our grains before we pressure sterilize them. So the first step is to measure out your grains. Now I'm planning to do 10 jars, so I'm measuring out about 5 quarts worth of grains here. This is usually my rule of thumb for measuring out grains. Always assume that you're going to get about twice the amount of grains once it's fully hydrated. And once you got your grains in your bucket here, we'll go ahead and fill it up with water, and we're going to go ahead and soak these for about 8 to 12 hours. No more than 24 hours, I would say. Now, some people like to wash their grains and dump these sunflower seeds out. I used to do that, but I find that sunflower seeds don't really affect the jars too much. So I decided to just keep the sunflower seeds in there. Why waste grains when you don't really have to, you know? So, after our soak here, go ahead and drain out the grains. At this point, your grains are well hydrated, and the last step will be to dry them out before putting them in the jars to get pressure sterilized. At this point, you can either boil your grains for 5 minutes and drain it, and then we'll let the steam help evaporate the moisture off the outside of the grains, or you can just drain the grains out and just let them sit out on a flat surface on some boards or something for a few hours to let it air dry. Either way, whatever method you decide to use, it'll still work the same. The key to proper moisture content in your grains is you want the grains to be dry on the outside and moist on the inside. The little paper towel or tissue paper trick is a good way to test your grain moisture. Here I'm going to be boiling my grains for about 5 minutes. I heated up some water on the stove here. Once it gets to about boiling, I'm going to go ahead and transfer my grains into the boiling water. Keep it on boil for about 5 minutes just to get your grains hot and up to temperature. After that, I'm going to go ahead and drain it once again. And I'm going to go ahead and spread it out on some baking pans in order to help get the moisture content right on the grains. So with the boiling method, this is going to heat up your grains, and once you drain it out, the steam from the grains will help evaporate the moisture on the outside content. It's just to kind of speed up things a little bit. You don't necessarily have to do this. You can just dump your grains out and just let it air dry normally. That'll work just the same way. The boiling method is just to kind of speed up things just a little bit here. Speaking of speeding things up, we'll go ahead and speed up the video here for you guys so you don't guys have to watch this whole method here. Once our grains are fully drained here, we'll go ahead and scoop them out into a baking pan of some sort. Any type of flat surfaces that you have in order to help speed up the drying process for your grains would be helpful. I don't have much, so I'm using my baking pans for this. Ideally, you want to use like a window screen of some sort, just to have some airflow going, just to help speed up the drying process. Anything you want to do to get creative and dry up your grains is perfectly fine. Here's how my grains will look when they're all spread out in the baking pans. Nice flat surfaces will help allow your grains to evaporate moisture much more quickly. Now this might be a bit overkill, but I decided why not? I'll go ahead and put a fan in here and fan out my grains here to dry them out, because who wants to wait for grains to dry? You know what I mean? Alright, here's a little trick here to test your moisture on your grains. Go ahead and spoon out a couple of these grains onto some napkins, paper towel, tissue, whatever you want to use. Spread them out a little bit here, and then we'll go ahead and dump them back into our grains, and then we'll check to see how much moisture they've left behind. You don't want a whole lot of wet spots left behind on your tissue paper. Pretty much this much is when you reach the right consistency for your moisture content, so you're good to go. Alright, once your grains have reached proper moisture content, we'll go ahead and fill up our jars here in order to get them ready for pressure sterilization. Alright, this is how you want your moisture content to be. Once you have your jars filled up with grains, we don't want any grains to be sticking on the side of the jars. If it is, you got too much moisture in your jars. Here I'm going to go ahead and put on the lids to my jars. And I'm going to loosen them up just a little bit so that it's not completely sealed here. We'll take this jar here for example, and I'll show you what the moisture content is going to be like for this jar. As you can see, there's no water on the outside of the grains. There's no water pooling on the outside of the grain jars. And I'll shake it up a little bit here. As you can see, not very many grains are sticking on the outside of the jars. You want them dry on the outside and moist on the inside. That is the key to grain jars. So once you achieve that, they're pretty much ready to go for pressure sterilization. Now we'll go ahead and cover our jars with foil on top of the lids here. This is to help prevent extra moisture from falling on top of your lids and getting inside of your jars if you're doing the unmodified lid tech. And with these plastic ones, I find that these help protect the plastic lids from getting any damage done to them if you're going to be stacking jars on top of them. So it's always a good precaution. I end up recycling my foils from my last pressure cook batch for these. You know, that's how we do it here on the Broke Boy Tech. Alright, quick rundown again here on my pressure cook method. I'm going ahead and fill up my 22 quart pressure cooker here with about 3 quarts of water. This is enough to steam pressure sterilize it without having to run out of water during the process. You want the water line to go up just a little bit past the trivet in your pressure cooker. You're good to go if you have the water line probably up about a quarter way up your jars. You don't want it up too far because then you have too much water in your pressure cooker, but too little and you might end up running out of steam. And here we're doing the unmodified lid tech, so go ahead and loosen up our lids after they're covered with foil. This is to allow steam to get inside the jars to pressure sterilize. Now, once your pressure cooker is filled, we'll go ahead and pop the lid on top of these. Now we want to go ahead and pressure cook these for about 90 minutes at 15 psi. If you're not sure on how to do this, please refer back to your pressure cooker manual in order to properly use your pressure cooker. If you're using a 22 quart Mirro pressure cooker or a 23 quart Presto pressure cooker, feel free to refer back to my old tech video as I go into more details about how to use these pressure cookers. After 90 minutes, and we turn off the heat and we let the pressure cooker cool off in order to release pressure on its own. This is what they will look like after they're done pressure cooking. Now go ahead and remove the lid once your pressure cooker has fully depressurized. And this is what your grain jars will look like. Now it's going to be very hot, so be careful when handling these. Now once I remove them from the pressure cooker, what I'll go ahead and do is give them up a very good shake in order to distribute the moisture content inside of the jars. And once these have cooled down to room temperature, they are pretty much ready to inoculate and use. Big shout out to my Patreon subscribers here for this month. Without you guys, I would not be able to continue doing what I do and what I love. So thank you very much for the support, guys. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed the content, please hit the like button. Leave comments below and subscribe for more videos. If you want to discuss and learn more about mushrooms and mycology, come join us over on the Discord server. And if you want to show some support by becoming a Golden student, you can check out my Patreon. All links will be in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next video.